My presentation will focus on natural resources and regional approach, and is divided in three sections. The first one will look at the problem, the second one will look at the international responses, while the third section will look at the challenges to move forward. I must say, as a way of introduction, that International Crisis Group is currently working and drafting a report on natural resources. So we are conducting research in the field on this topic, but we haven't published yet anything in this respect. With the first part of my presentation, the problem of natural resources in DRC. The DRC is a rich country in natural resources, as all of you know. Natural resources including large deposits of coltan, cassiterite, wolframite, gold, which are used in everyday technology, such as cell phone, laptops, and digital video recorders, but also in jewelry. Many of the mines from which these minerals are extracted are militarized by armed groups, but also by the Congolese army. The so-called artisanal miners are workers, civil workers, that work in extremely hard conditions, and they dig the minerals with their hands. In the year 2001, the UN created a panel of experts on the illegal exploitation of natural resources and other forms of wealth in DRC. This panel produced several reports between 2001 and 2003 describing the illicit natural resources trade in the conflict and identified a number of companies and individuals involved. The work of the panel was crucial in recognizing the existence of a vicious circle between illegal trade and war. It documented how armed groups and their foreign sponsors, Uganda and Rwanda, are fighting for the control of natural resources-rich areas, and the export of natural resources is used by them and help them to finance their troops. The work of the panel was significant in highlighting the close relationship between economic exploitation, arms trafficking, human rights abuses in the context of DRC. The trade routes are via Burundi and Uganda. For gold, we have like 5 to 8 tons of export each year for a value of $400 million, and also via Rwanda. The final destinations are Europe, North America, South Africa, and the Far East. The legal exploitation of natural resources does not only fuel conflict, but it undermines potential for moving away from the conflict. Its impact is very negative, especially in terms of exacerbating the poverty trap, in increasing violence, with respect to the environmental damage. Given the absence of regulation, informal mining takes place in the national parks. There is water pollution and destruction of the tropical forest. What is even more important is that illegal exploitation of natural resources makes good governance impossible. The illegal trade of minerals in Eastern Congo is the equivalent of the drug trade in Haiti or Afghanistan. It provides a lot of cash, therefore it increases the level of corruption in the government and in the administration, and creates a flourishing parallel economy that is much more profitable than the formal one. It's a direct and the biggest obstacle to any attempt to state building. To conclude this part of my presentation, I would like to stress that illegal exploitation of natural resources is at the junction of crime, politics, war, and international economy, and that all the main warring parties are heavily involved in the mineral trade. This practice is not limited to rebel groups. Soldiers from the Congolese National Army and their commanders are also deeply involved in the illegal trafficking of natural resources. For the second session, as part of my presentation, I will look at the international responses. International responses to the illegal trafficking of natural resources have been different and various. One has been the UN approach, sanctioning the traders but not the trade. Instead of boycotting the minerals from DRC, smart sanctions have been imposed against the traders involved in this illegal business. In particularly imposing no visa and assets freezing. In its 4 reports, the UN panel of experts has named senior Uganda and Rwandese armed forces officers and senior government officials and their families who are allegedly responsible for illegal exploitation of DRC. It also named over 50 companies to have breached the OECD guidelines for multilateral enterprises. The panel of experts listed the companies based in Belgium, China, France, Germany, Israel, Spain, and the UK, and the United States that were allegedly involved in the illegal arms trade in DRC. The UN Security Council has adopted various resolutions, and the EU has adopted a common position in 2008, imposing an arms embargo and a freezing of funds, as well as a restriction of admission against individuals or entities supporting illegal armed groups in the eastern part of DRC through illicit trade of natural resources. The flaws of this approach are the low implementation of the sanction by the neighboring countries, but also by the Asian countries and European countries and the US. A second approach has been the formalizing of the trade, which is a more pro-development and pro-business approach. This approach has meant improving the administrative control for the export, but also on the mining site, the harmonization of the customs system in the Great Lakes region, and the demilitarizing of the mining sites. Again, the flaws has been that all this depends on the goodwill of the government in the region, which is at the moment very unlikely.